Well, hello folks, it's bike review time again because Engwe have sent me their P20 to have a go at, and yeah, I'm pretty excited because I've never owned or ridden a belt driven bike before. Let's get it unpacked and put together. Well, as is usual with the Engwe bikes, they do provide you with all the tools you need to assemble the bike and some very clear instructions, and yeah, not very complicated at all to put this bike together. Full disclosure, I did have some difficulty with one of the mudguard screws, simply because I think the head on it was a little bit deformed, but very easily got over that, and yeah, the bike went together pretty nicely, pretty easily. I don't think anyone really would have much trouble in assembling one of these bikes. Well, there we go. What a pretty little bike. I do like the colour. Well, I'm looking forward to trying this out, but of course first I've got to fully charge the battery, and I do have a few other little things I've got to do today, so I'm going to get the battery on charge and then I'll catch up with you a bit later on to give this bike a proper test. A few days later and I've got the bike battery on charge ready for a test ride. Right, well while that battery charges, let's go over some of the specs for this bike. It's a UK spec bike, so it comes with a 250 watt rated motor with the speed limited to 25 kilometers per hour. It is fitted with a thumb throttle, but that's disabled for UK use. Now both the speed limit and the throttle disablement are done in the bike's software, and you can access it and disable those limits if you wish to do so, but obviously that then makes it not UK compliant, so you'd be very naughty to do so and then ride it on the road. The motor is described as a silent motor. Obviously we've not run the bike yet, so we'll see how silent it is once we get the battery on. And the bike is also fitted with a torque sensor, so that should make the power delivery much smoother. And instead of a chain, this bike has a belt drive, so there's no oily chain to muck up the boot of your car, etc. when you fold it up to take it somewhere, and that could come in very handy for motorhomers and camper vanners. Now Engwe say that this motor has a torque rating of 42 Newton meters, which should be more than sufficient to see you up some fairly steep hills. They claim a range of 100 kilometers for the bike. Now that's probably under fairly ideal conditions with a sort of medium or even lightweight rider, but that seems like quite a lot. We'll try the range perhaps in a later video and see exactly how far we can get on a single charge on this bike. But for this video we're just going to test it for sort of a normal commuting run. The battery is 36 volt 9.6 amp hours, and it mounts in the back of the sort of seat post area here. The frame is 6061 grade aluminium and is rated for a payload of 120 kilos. I suspect if you're carrying quite that much weight, the range will be a little bit reduced. There is a built-in front light, and uniquely this bike does have indicators, and I think they double up as the rear light. We'll find out once we get the battery on. The bike that Engwe have sent me is in this lovely minty green colour, but it's also available in black, white, or what they call ace, which is a sort of black and red pattern combination, which looks quite nice. It's got disc brakes on the front and the rear, and they are hydraulic disc brakes, so I'm expecting some good stopping power from this bike. Right, looks like the battery's charged. Let's get it on the bike. Well, the battery is installed simply by latching it into the bike. You don't actually need the key unless you want to remove the battery again. You then need to turn the bike battery on by opening this little cover and using the switch inside. Then you can turn on the bike at the controller. Let's take that film off. And there we go. Well, we're almost ready to go for a test ride, but the tyres haven't really got very much pressure in them. Engwe do give you this little tyre pump as part of the kit, but we don't need that because we've got the Hoto Airmaster pump, so I'm going to pump up the tyres with that. Right, now because this is a folding commuter type bike, I want to try folding it up and putting it in the boot of the car to take it somewhere for a bit of a test ride. First thing to do is to undo this quick release and rotate the handlebars round so everything faces straight down in terms of the levers and the wires and stuff. Then you can release this clamp and fold the bars down like that. Next, put the pedals in line and then just fold the pedal platforms up. Then you can release this catch to fold the bike in half. Now you have to make sure the stand's up, of course, but then you can just squeeze it together and you've got this little magnetic catch which holds the whole thing in a folded position. And then of course you can just put it in the boot of your car. I've actually got both the Engwe and Nikki's folding bike into the back of the car because we're going to go and try the Engwe out, maybe on the busway cycle path. Well, we're up at the busway car park as if we're commuting perhaps into work. Perhaps you drive to the busway car park and then drive along the busway into town to your office or whatever. So get the bike out and put it together. It has started drizzling a bit. And as quick as that really, the bike is together. So I'm going to turn it on. Now because it's getting a little bit darker, it's heading into the evening, I'm going to turn on the lights, and I do that just by pressing the power up button, holding it in. Another quite unique thing about this bike is that it does have indicators. Watch this. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to have a little ride out and see how we get on with this bike. Well, my first impressions are very good. It's nice and easy to ride, nice and smooth. The power pickup with that torque sensor is very different to the other Engwe e-bikes. It's more like a on and off switch on them. The power comes in and then the power goes off again. On this, it's much smoother. It's just like having extra powerful legs. You can't feel the power coming on, but you can certainly feel the difference in power when it's not on. So one of the things to get used to on this is that there are no gears. It's sort of essentially a single fixed speed, but it's a good fixed speed and you can make reasonable progress in that gear that it's sort of set in. Right, I think Nikki wants to go. Let's see how she gets on with it. Right, so we've stopped and I think the rain's getting a little bit harder. I've put the seat down for Nikki and I've put the handlebars all the way down. We've turned the power to the lowest setting and she's going to give it a bit of a go. So here she goes. She is under 5 foot, so it is difficult to adjust it all the way down for her. Yeah, off she goes. What do you reckon to it so far then, darling?
I'm not keen on crossbars, but this is actually easier.
Yeah, you were a little bit worried, weren't you, how you get on with it because of the frame? So how does it feel in comparison with your front wheel drive bike? Yours hasn't got the torque sensor on it that that's got.
Yeah.
So yeah, the power on this just bangs in and out. But that comes on much more smoothly, doesn't it?
Yes, and you know, you can, well, even pedalling it's a bit more smoothly.
So we've stopped to change over bikes again because Nikki's bike's making my knees hurt. It's adjusted proper small. And you are having some trouble getting off, aren't you, darling?
I am, yes. Old
yeah.
hips don't like it very much.
I think you would prefer a step-through frame like yours, don't you?
A step-through frame. Once you turn the camera off, I will get you to assist me getting off.
Oh, come on, off you get.
I'm not sure I can. No, go away.
Here he goes. Ooh. And there he goes.
That was a reasonably short trial ride because the weather wasn't exactly great, but I was quite impressed with the Engwe P20. The motor was indeed very silent, and that torque sensor did make a big difference. Like the bikes like Nikki's bike and the Engwe Engine X do suffer from the power just coming banging in and out as you turn the pedals. If you turn the pedals, then the power comes on full regardless of how hard you're pedaling. But with the P20 and its torque sensor, the power comes in and out as you apply sort of more pressure to the pedals. But being a single speed, it does run out of legs a little bit as you get up towards the maximum assistance speeds of 25 kilometers an hour. What did you think to it?
I actually did like it. My only thing would be I would like to try a what do you call it? A step
through frame. Yeah.
Yes, the only reason being is it's got little legs and I find it a bit difficult to get on and off it. But yes, the power is more even and less surprising than my bike. Sometimes I get very surprised by my bike suddenly taking off and I'm not really with it.
Yeah, it just sort of goes as soon as you start pedaling, isn't it? Whereas this feeds in the power gradually. I do think for my commute to my workplace, which is about 7 or 8 miles on sort of fairly fast roads, I do prefer the Engine X because it's got the gears. I can put it in a high gear and sort of speed off on a sort of high speed road. But if I had to commute in a town centre, I think that's where this would be perfect. Getting around the campsite, it would be perfect as well, as sort of nipping backwards and forwards to the shops. But for longer trips, I think you need the gears of something like the Engine X, and yeah, I think that's probably my favourite so far. But this is absolutely fantastic in the way that it folds up so small. It's got a belt drive, so you haven't got an oily chain and stuff to deal with. And I did like the indicators, although I will say it's quite hard to see and tell if you've cancelled them once they're on. So I'd prefer just some sort of little light on the display to tell you when you've cancelled the indicators.
I do like having the lights built in as well because I'm always forgetting mine.
yeah, you can't forget your lights because they're absolutely built into it. Haven't tried it in the absolute pitch dark. I might do that perhaps in another video because I'm not sure how bright the light would be if you're out of town and there's no street lights. But then it's not designed for that. It's designed to be used in a sort of urban setting, I think.
As we were riding along as well, we were interested because the other Engwe, which you thought the adventure bike, which you love.
Oh, the really big one that
yeah,
got.
We couldn't put that on the back of the motorhome, but we were actually discussing whether we think we probably would be able to get this on the back of the motorhome, but we'll let you know what happens with that anyway.
Yeah, and of course you could in fact fold it up and put it inside the motorhome because you can keep it nice and clean because you've not got an oily chain. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it. And if you would like one, we have a discount code. I think they currently retail for £1,049, I think. And yeah, I'll put the discount code and link in the description. That's about it for us.
One last thing, just before anybody puts any comments down below, the stand. It's a habit of mine on both the I didn't put the stand up on the Engwe, and I'm always forgetting to do it on my bike as well. So that's not anything to do with the bike. That was my fault.
Yeah, that you do often do that.
I do.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you again very soon in our next video.